Okay. In the chat, it seems like nobody ate anything. Breakfast, dinner, fish tikka, lunch, fool. Okay, dinner. But what did you eat for dinner? We haven't started. We're about to start in a bit. Risotto, of course. Something like meatballs. Okay. Making pizza, rice with beans. So a good variety of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there's people, I received a few messages about people from New Zealand who are like, we're going to be sleeping. It's going to be like 4 a.m. or something strange. So it's like we'll see the recording. But okay, so we're 2 minutes past 5 o'clock and we have 44 attendees. And yeah, that's fine. Others can catch up, others can keep joining. All right, so all right, so let's start. Thank you for joining the Bubble Responsive webinar. Everybody's really excited with the new Bubble Responsive engine. And I thought let's do a whole 2-hour deep dive session. As a bootcamp instructor, I did have a bit of an early start before it went public live. So I've had a bit more time hands-on, which is what you see in the GIF over there. And but I'd like to share as much as I can so that the overall, there are bugs, yes, but it's really, really, really great. And I think it's, so just, okay, let's go with a bit of background. My own background is as a software engineer turned no coder. I'm in Birmingham, UK, and left my job around March 2020 and found ASCII Tech Labs. So bootcamp instructor, coach, lead a team of Bubble developers building MVPs for clients around the world. And when I saw the new responsive, I was like, this is hard for traditional no coders because there is something under the hood. So a workshop on this would be great. And it's something that I can potentially, I'm in a unique position because of a bit of software engineering background. But yeah, so first of all, we're going to go and look at the underlying thing powering this engine. So let me just 1 second. We have, what's it called? Flexbox. Okay, so Flexbox has been around for a while in the world of web development, but Bubble wasn't using it. And now the new responsive engine of Bubble uses Flexbox under the hood. So just it's nice to keep in mind that even though it's no code, under the hood, it is code. Okay, and if you spend maybe 1 hour understanding Flexbox, you're going to save a lot of hours after, a lot of Bubble hours afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to give a brief Flexbox background, Bubble plus Flexbox. Not everything comes through. And then let's dig into the Bubble editor, basic login sign up, just to warm up the situation, left menu dashboard with navigation structure, and repeating group, potentially card first, table afterwards. We'll see depending on the time and how much time we have and how much energy we have. All right. So, all right. So let's get started. So what is Flexbox? As I mentioned a while ago, there is always code behind no code. The new responsive engine is powered by Flexbox under the hood, and an hour spent here will save countless time afterwards. There are many, many tutorials online, and I will point to them. I have some links in the slides, and I'll explain some fundamental kind of concepts, point out some differences. So let's open this link. Okay, the two key concepts from Flexbox, I think I'd like to kind of really pinpoint and highlight, is that there are containers. Okay, this is like the equivalent of our group in Bubble. So whenever you're reading something or understanding something about reading about Flexbox, container equals group. And then there are items. These are elements inside the group, inside the container. Okay, and the big thing is we can tweak properties for the parent, and we can tweak properties for elements inside the group. Okay, so in Bubble language, okay, we have a group, we have some 3 buttons inside of it, and we can tweak properties of the buttons inside, and we can tweak properties of the whole group itself. Okay, there is a handy little code snippet. This is a interactive Flexbox kind of like, if you tweak some Flexbox properties, what happens to these boxes? Okay, so this one's a row layout. You can also have it as a column layout. And then we have these justify content properties and align items properties. Okay, this guide has like, there are many properties like wrap, flex flow, flex bases. It's all sorts of things. Align these at the top, align this at the bottom. It's just you can have all sorts of kind of layouts: stretch, center, flex start, flex end, baseline. And so some properties are at the group level, some properties are at the individual element inside the group level. Okay, so inside the group, an item can stretch, an item can shrink, an item can take up like a lot space, an item can align to one side from the start or the end. So just, I'm going to try and echo throughout the workshop that there are things we can tweak at the group level, things we can tweak at the item level. Okay, so if I open the playground again, at the group level, we can tweak whether it's a row or column, and we can tweak some properties which impact all the elements in the group. Okay, and some properties which impact the items inside. So we can just flex start, flex center, flex end, stretch, baseline. Previously, Bubble's previous responsive engine did not use Flexbox under the hood, but now it does. And we get a lot more kind of granular configurability about elements or groups, and repeating groups is a whole kind of next level as well. Okay, so now if you go online, and I'll share some links to Flexbox tutorials, not everything that is supported by Flexbox is available in Bubble yet, or maybe it's upcoming, maybe it's not, I don't know. So like, for example, row plus justify exists, columns plus justify doesn't, and I'll show an example. So if I do row justify, yeah, flex, this behavior exists for row, but if I switch to column, I can't do this with Bubble yet. Okay, now let's open Bubble and see inside. Let me see, details, Flexbox. Okay, so we have our page, and a page can have its layout in different types. Okay, but I'm going to look at one particular group inside. Okay, so if I look at these properties, left, center, right, spaced out around, and I can't do this in the column layout. Okay, if I open the Flexbox playground, I could do this in the column layout as well. This is what's happening in Bubble, but I can't do this in column, but I can do this in row. So if I switch the layout of the group as a row, I have these options, container level options. Okay. Now, if I look at individual elements, I can tweak them, and I can give different properties to each of them. Now, this is an element level property. Echoing back to the Flexbox kind of, we can tweak element properties. Yeah, I'll share a link to the playground in a while. No worries. Just try and focus on absorbing first, and then we'll do that. I have the chat open in the background as well. No worries. Okay, so we can tweak individual element properties, or we can tweak the whole group property itself. Okay, we can move things around. This just makes things so much easier overall. Okay, however, the previous behavior of, oh, I need an icon here, that doesn't work anymore. Okay, and that's the thing that was causing responsive issues. You can't just randomly place elements in a canvas. The world of web kind of functions more with Flexbox and more like a grid system overall. But the new responsive does have a learning curve, but overall it's way more powerful. Okay, so going back to the slides, the key takeaways: knowing a bit about Flexbox will help. Think responsively in rows and columns, and just keep in mind that, am I tweaking something at the container group level, or am I tweaking something at the item property level? Okay, and an individual element level. Okay, so there are some helpful links. This one definitely, Flexbox in 100 seconds and 12 minutes. These are really, really good. The more we get hands-on in Bubble, I'll try and keep reflecting that this is a container level property. This is an element level property. Okay, there is some written material as well. Responsive and grid, just understanding more about overall layout structures will help. So let's just quickly opening a Figma link here, that even Figma, even though it's a design tool, it has similar properties, so that it kind of functions sort of similarly now, because under the hood, this auto layout is also powered by Flexbox, essentially. And just thinking more in a grid kind of layout, that, okay, my page is left column here, right column here, this is a row, this is a column. That'll just over time help kind of like just Bubble powers. All right, so basic Q&A. I'm going to pause for a bit and I'm going to look at the chat. If there are, can you please share? Yeah, the header, will have a look at the header. Let me just look at the chat. Okay, coffee, breakfast, CSS guide. We can't do it with column, code, pen, too fast. When you select an element, please tell us what you are about to do. Okay, I'll try and slow down a bit. Are we going to be forced at some point in future to migrate an existing app to this new layout? I don't know. I suspect the challenge there will be new features will slowly start appearing more in the new layout. And if you're stuck in the old version, I don't know how plugins will start behaving when plugins are updated. At the moment, plugins may suffer a bit in the new responsive. So just what happens over time, generally within our work, the approach we're currently taking is that new projects will start building with the new responsive engine. Old stuff we won't migrate, but we don't know yet if we are pushed. I don't think we'll be pushed to migrate, but it'll be strongly nudged to migrate. That'll be converting existing pages to new responsive engine. If it's a large single page application with groups upon groups upon groups upon groups and show hide and everything, I'd be slightly careful. If it's a multi-page application where it's one page and it has like, I don't know, 20 elements, a basic group and stuff, you could try with one kind of page at a time and see how it goes. From chatter on the forum and other things, there've been mixed signals. Some people have been like, oh yeah, conversion just happened, it was fine, I just had to tweak a few little things. But others have said it's just completely gone. So I think people have different ways of building Bubble applications. I suspect the 20,000 pixel long page with groups that hide and spacer groups which hide and collapse, I suspect those will be harder to convert. But multi-page applications will just like different pages, small pages decoupled, they'll be probably easier to convert. I don't know. Okay, so we have some more questions here. The crop plugin, will it work? Don't know. I tried using a few plugins. There are still glitches. This is a beta at the moment. What should the layout settings be for the page, row, or column? It depends on the page. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay. What happens if I want to add an icon? You can add an icon. I think some of these questions will be answered once we go through the live kind of like exercise overall. Not being able to justify in the column layout a deal breaker, not at all, not at all. So you would like to answer. Okay, I need to, okay. So, oh, I forgot about the networking. So I'm gonna drop this link in the chat. I'm glad I had this written here. Okay, the session's being recorded, so I'm not gonna, this is for the live attendees. It's always nice to network. Just name, where are you based? What do you do? Maybe there are people in the audience who can help you, co-founders, freelancers, design, anything. So just go for it, add your names. This spreadsheet is for the live attendees only. Once this recording's live on YouTube, this networking is just for this closed group at the moment. Okay, so we've got 65 people here. Hope there are people who help everyone. All right, so while that's happening, and interesting, I got distracted, sorry. There's so many interesting people from all around the world listening. No pressure. Okay, so I'm gonna take like a minute. Nice. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it's I had to kind of like disconnect other activities and thought I'd focus purely on the responsive engine and kind of help everyone, and it's going to be great. Yeah. All right, so let's get started. What sign up page are we building? I'm going to try and see if I can open the right one to give the final look first. So we're going to try and build a simple layout first. It's just a centered sign up login, a logo at the top, sign up for your account, a group here, some labels, some input elements, label input elements, a checkbox, forgot password, sign up, sign in with Google, sign up with Google, and already have an account. Some of you might be like, oh yeah, this is too easy. Let's go straight to the dashboard. But this is helpful because it kind of like starts setting the scene as like, how do I think here? Especially it's nice to start with the hello world first. Okay, so what's my page layout? My page layout is a row. So the page layout I'm going to use is a column. Okay, everything's vertically aligned. So like everything's vertical in a column. Okay, so I'm gonna then add an image element here. Image element, just upload something. We need to find the logo we have. Okay, so this is an image. Now let's see, let's look at the layout a bit more. Column, row, custom, we've got nothing, and we have one image element, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's stretched. Why is it stretched? I can move the image to the center, right align, kind of move this around. I can make it fixed height. So at the moment, it just is trying to expand because it's not, I can make it fixed height, fixed width. If I remove fixed width, I get this nice stretch option as well. So it just kind of stretches the whole element end to end. But I'm going to make it fixed width. I'm going to make it smaller as well. 120, 80. That looks about right. Center, and this section is really interesting with the new responsive, just simply being able to add a margin anywhere. Okay, let's see, we're gonna add, what was our page? Sign up for your account. Okay, text element. Okay, starts here. Sign up for your account. And I'm gonna give it a tail heading, tails heading. Okay, I'm gonna center it again. and I'm gonna not make it fixed width this time because I'd like it to expand. Fit height to content, okay, or fixed height, both can work. Okay, let's just keep it fixed height. It's fine. Now, what else do we need? A simple group here, white group. Let's see, a simple group here. Again, starts at the left. So, okay, previously we used to be able to just like drag and drop like this. That UX, I haven't been able to use that like well. And again, previously we used to be able to just kind of like, oh, I need a group here, I'm going to try and drag and drop like this. Yeah, not a fan. What I found better is to just do pick where you want something to appear, pick the element itself, and just one click. Okay, that places the element, and then we're just like tweaking properties, and this is just not the mouse anymore. Okay, I want this in the center. I've got my style. Which style should I pick for this? Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so I've got my centered group here. I can add a bit of margin at the top. Okay, and now echoing back to the discussion with Flexbox, and to think about like there are container level properties and then there are element level properties. Now our page is a container. Our page has a layout column. Okay, these are individual elements. Okay, I can move them around. I can tweak their properties. Now group, this starts nesting because a group itself has a layout and a group itself is an element for the parent. Okay, so we can move the group around. It's just a standard element, but the group itself has properties as well. Okay, so and the group has elements inside it. So the group itself, we're going to use a column layout here as well. Okay, because everything's vertical in our design canvas. Email type here, password type here, everything's kind of vertical. Okay, so I'm going to place just one click here at the top right, top left corner, email. Okay, tails label, and I'm going to now move this around. I'm not going to make it fixed width. Okay, I'm going to stretch it fully, and I'm going to add margins from the left and right. Okay, and I'm going to add margins from the top. And that's how I've moved this in the right place. And I'm also going to change its height to 18 or 16, whatever. It depends on kind of thing. But the part of me thinks that the keyboard is now more kind of useful. And it's not just like a mouse thing, and we can kind of like really honing on the pixels and everything. Oh, I want to move this to the right. I want to move this. Nope, it's just about the keyboard and these properties here. Okay. We have, yeah, this is I think sufficient input. One single click, similar sequence. I'm gonna not make it fixed width. I'm gonna stretch the whole element. Okay, and the whole element's taking up all the space, left, right. And I'm gonna add margins. I'm gonna use margins to align things. This one, and okay, so let's see, we are at email, type here, and we need password. Now, this is where things start getting interesting. If I want to copy paste, okay, I can click email, the input element, copy. Now, I'm going to click in the group, and I'm going to control V paste here. Okay, and it did mess up a little bit, but previously, especially if you wanted to add an element in some place, it was, oh, move everything around, move everything bottom, and then add some element. But now you have these handy little next previous buttons, which kind of solve the problem. So we just add something anywhere and just move the elements, the order property. I believe that's a Flexbox thing as well. Yeah, the order property. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, and this order property can tune things as to like what order they are in. Okay, so if I have password here, and I'm gonna change the margins to be 10. Yeah, 10 looks fine. Email, password, and okay. So now we have a checkbox on the left and a forgot your password on the right. Okay. So within our column, we now have a row, and a row has two elements, one on the left aligned and one on the right aligned. Okay. So we're going to add a group here. Okay. So add a little group, unreasonably large group. We're going to make it 400 is fine, but just change the height. And let's see, this was one that was slightly tricky. So if I fumble a bit, please do excuse me. No, 10 pixels is fine. Now inside this particular group, it's going to turn into a row. Okay. But outside, we're going to use margins to push this in, not fixed width at all. Stretch. One second. Yeah, this should not be. Yeah. Okay. So we're back in action here. The minimum width, you can make elements kind of easily just move them out of the parent group. It's easier in this new responsive engine, but it's easy to tune them back in as well. Okay, so we have a row. Now we need, this is a row, container alignment, stretch. Now we need elements inside of it. Okay, so checkbox. We need one element inside of it here, and we need one text element inside here. Okay, so now they're kind of like pushing, one is pushing the other down. We can use the space around property. Let me see, this will affect all of them. This one needs to be there. This one needs, they're too big, I think. Let's just add the right text. Remember me. And forgot your password. And let's the height, not make it fixed width. And what else can we see? Yeah, both of them shouldn't really be fixed width. Can we stretch them? Yeah. And now let's, oh yeah, the minimum width property. Okay, 50 pixels. Yeah, there it is. 50 pixels. Yep, there we are. So the minimum width kind of enforces that, oh, we need to kind of be just like, I have to be more than 200, as the minimum is 200 pixels, but we don't need 200 pixels. Okay, so we have remembered me, forgot password. Once you kind of start using the new responsive engine and start thinking more about the various properties, because basically you can tune a lot. Previously, you didn't have so many knobs, so many alignments, stretch, knob, left, right, and knobs for the parent, knobs for each element. But now we have all these knobs, but with great power comes great responsibility, and the learning curve is a bit higher. But I do think it's better. I am definitely a big fan of the new responsive engine. Okay, so we'll add a button outside, and it's going to be a tail primary button. And now we're going to move it around. Not fixed width, stretch, 30, 30, add margin, 10, 20, 20 is fine. Yeah. So one tip, sometimes it may feel like, oh, I want margin at the bottom as well. But generally speaking, if you give top margins to every element, it kind of makes it easy. Otherwise, if I gave this element a top and bottom margin, okay, if I gave this element a top and bottom margin and I gave this, it gets harder. So it's easier to just use a top margin only flow throughout. And only the last element can have a bit of margin. So if this was the last element, I'd place the margin and I was just like, okay, but in terms of all the elements above, they only have a top margin defined. Okay, so what else do we have? We have a sign up with Google. This is a special, interesting little group with an icon and a text element. Okay, and we have an account, which is a centered element. Okay, so let's see. We need we need more space. So we can tune the minimum height parameter to give us more space. Okay. Yep, now we have more space. Otherwise, it's easy to kind of like, oh, we just have, this is how to kind of grow the group in a sense, the minimum height parameter here. So we need one group here, single click, too big, too big. This is gonna be, okay, we're gonna change this to a row, and we're gonna not make it fixed width. We're gonna stretch it, and we're gonna make it just 60 pixels. How large is the sign in with Google button? 60 feels too high. 45. Again, margin left, margin right. Why did it go out? It shouldn't have gone out. Yeah, again, minimum width. So here we go. We're back, and margin at the top. Here we are. So now we have a group. Okay. Sign in with Google. We have a little hover group here. And if what do we want? We want an icon, the Google icon. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to cheat a bit. Technically, it's just an image. Okay. But I'm going to copy paste the image because otherwise I need to find how to upload. In fact, let me try something. 1 second. Let me try placing an image element inside here. Oops, took over the whole place. But actually, we don't need such a big image. We have a small image will be fine. Okay. Now, in terms of what the image is, I just copy pasted the URL. Yeah, this can work. I thought I'd need to copy paste the whole image element, but I just copy paste the URL from somewhere. Okay, so now we need margin on the left, 30, 40, 30, 40, both work. This does feel a bit too large for me. Margin from the top, not margin. The top one, we can use the vertical alignment. Okay, so we centered it on the row. So now we have a Google icon here. We can do it 30, bit larger. Okay, and now we need a text, sign up with Google. Okay, so text element here, sign up with Google. Now this particular group is a row style group. Okay, so we can tune different things in a different way. We can center everything, or we can space out everything else, or we can, there are different properties here on the group one. But we can tune this around. Let's not overcomplicate it. Sign up with Google. And so one trick I found out, I'm not really sure about the underlying why this is working, but if I have a text element with 0 pixel height, okay, it just snugly wraps the font size. This is pretty useful. Previously, this was getting quite annoying. So if I remove the style here in the previous engine, if I had a change of font size, the text element size would have to be tweaked. But now with this kind of like 0 pixel, I don't know if it's I hope it's not a bug and it's a feature. Okay, and it stays, because this is useful actually, because now we can just tune the style and the size, and we don't have to change the size of the text element itself. Even if we fix the height, I don't want to fix the height to a specific size. It's like, okay, 0 pixel, vertical align, add left margin, and we're there. Okay. I think the font is a bit bigger than the demo, but that should be fine. So 14, let's just make it 16. Yeah, so we're here quite quickly. We have one left, have an account, log in here. Okay, we'll add another text element. Oops. Text element. Here. And text elements should be easy now. Remove fixed width, stretch the element, add margin, and top margin. Maybe we use the 0 pixel trick, and bottom margin 40 pixels. We need to center align this. I don't think I have a center align style here. We just center align this. And our sign up login is almost done, I guess. This is the old one. This is not the new one that we just built. This is the old one, but let me just say preview Tails workshop. Okay, so we'll just switch to workshop. One thing I've noticed that with debug mode, the height can glitch a bit. So disabling debug mode makes it kind of like easy. Sign up for your account, email, password, should be fine. Yeah. The max width, what's this max width? 400 pixel, and this is fixed width. Yeah, this shouldn't be fixed width. This should be 320. It's the smallest iPhone. 360 should be fine. Then we just need to tune these max widths a bit, and this should be fine. Let me see. Group A, this group layout, minimum 300 pixels, minimum 50 pixels. Why is this stacking? I'm thinking. So we have the left one. This is fine. We have the right one. What happens to the parent? The parent needs to be no, shouldn't really. Does it have less space? No, I'm confused. I'll try and see my previous implementation to see where I got kind of stuck. What's the difference? I don't think there's that much of a difference. We have a row layout. It has this stretch element 240, 20. No, the only difference is this. But we did tune, the only thing we did was tune this and add a bit of space here. Something's pushing this element to the bottom. Maybe it's some minimum width somewhere. It's hard to find. Yeah. Should have worked. All right, I'll admit defeat and I won't waste everybody's time with some pixels. Maybe it's too much width somewhere and needs to be like a fixed width someplace. I don't know. But the responsive tab is pretty neat now as well. It's kind of quite handy as well. So 320, 3768. These are breakpoints, by the way. The feature isn't here yet. But breakpoints in the rest of the world is like, okay, I want this element to not be visible here. So you can have breakpoint specific settings afterwards. Not yet, it's not launched yet, fully launched yet, but it was in the bootcamp instructor's call. Nick gave a hint that this breakpoints are coming as well. Okay, I'm gonna take a bit of a pause now and scroll through the chat or the Q&A. So the chat grows really quickly and it's hard for me to kind of scroll up and down. Maybe if you guys put the questions, if there are questions in Q&A, it'll help. And let's see. Okay, very different approach, more tightly controlled. Yeah, definitely more tightly controlled. Minimum width. Children in a row have to have widths that fit the parent. Math oversight. Okay. Short papering layout, some measures, PowerPoint, minimum width. Can you tell how focus groups work? I haven't played around with them yet, so I can't tell, I'm afraid. Heading was cut off. Oh, I didn't notice. No, this is not good. Thank you for pointing that out. This needs to be fixed. The minimum width is too less. Sign up for your account. Yeah, now it should be fine. Apologies. This is just glitching for no reason, I think. Let's see. 360. Yeah, it should be fine. It doesn't like growing back. Okay, text size too big, fit width to remember me, lots of suggestions for remember me. I apologize. It's a live session. I think I don't want to waste everybody's time on one checkbox. Okay, going to the questions tab. How would you put margin around all groups so that display is centered at 320? Like many people. Can you show grids, focus groups, upgrading a page? Min max width. If you use percentage, what's the percentage? I was just kind of going through all the questions first. Page row. So let's pick a few. In this example, how would you put a margin around all the groups so that it is the display is centered at 320? I don't know if I can understand the whole question. Can you show the grids you're using? The grids are old. This one is just 60, and step 20 gutters start with a gutter. But yeah, if you want to see, that's the grid. I haven't been. This is not a system yet at the moment, so I wouldn't look at it too closely. Okay. Can you tell how focus groups? I don't know. Upgrading a page / reusable. If you decide to restore to a save point, it will downgrade that. I don't know. This is something. The way I approach such situations is I create a new app, and then I do the test scenario and then see. Otherwise, especially with actual apps or client projects, we're just like, oh, this is too sensitive. We need to know exactly what's going to happen before. Oh, let's just try it and see what happens. Will this make our life easier by fixing so many white borders on the end of the page? Yes, this will definitely make our life easier. It has a bit of a learning curve, but once set, the responsive situation is just way better. Okay. So for min and maximum width, if you use a percentage instead of pixel, what does the percentage reference, as in what is the percentage of? Before I could set width in pixels, and in addition, min and max percentage. Confused about how to do this now with only min and max. Okay, so percentages is an interesting one, and I haven't covered it yet because we will hit it a bit in the, what's it called, repeating groups to an extent. But we now have the ability in some places, not everywhere, so we can't tweak percentages and margins, but we can tweak this as a percentage. Okay, now what percentage refers to is that this is going to be 50% of its parent. Okay, that's the minimum, and the maximum, let's just add. Okay, so this is always going to be 50% of its parent. I don't think this particular example is going to be useful, but I'll get to this in a while. I think you'll see percentage used in a different situation, which will be better. I think I can explain this afterwards a bit. Okay. Now, can you still set the roundness, back group style, outset for element and group? Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Does that order property help with the tabbing nightmare Bubble allows for? If inputs are ordered differently than the order, does the Bubble, the keyboard tab problem? Yeah, there is a plugin we used for a few client projects, and that did resolve this issue. We've after you place the plugin element in the group, and it kind of orders the tabs in somehow it does it. The thing with plugins now with the new responsive, I suspect they're partly broken. So. Not that good. So what else? Can you show layout settings for group A, please? Layout column, and that's the things you can see. Can you share your way of looking as you press the update from the previous to the new responsive engine? What we should have an eye on. To be honest, I haven't actually done an upgrade, so I don't think I'm in a position to answer. Okay. I do think in the interest of time, we should move on to an extent. So, but just keep adding the questions and we'll spend some more time at the end as well. Okay. So now let's switch to 1 second, dashboard, because that's a key component. Lots of Bubble apps have a dashboard. I think almost all of our client apps have a dashboard. And so dashboards are great. Okay. Just having a left menu structure. Okay, let's rewind a bit. Okay. No, I'm gonna need some water before I start dashboards. Okay, so the layout, dashboards have lots of layouts. They can have a top layout, they can have a sidebar layout. Today we're going to be looking at a standard sidebar layout. Okay, what we can do, and including making it responsive so that the sidebar can open and close, and see what the grouping structure, what the rows and columns look like. We're definitely going to cover the dashboard in the time we have. I'll try and cover as much of repeating groups as I can, because I found like one interesting thing with repeating groups that I found is, check out this horizontally scrolling table. This would have been really hard with the previous way. And also this card layout, the way it snaps is very like kind of like code like. Well, it is Flexbox powered, so it is. You could put a React implementation of this card layout and a Bubble implementation, and people won't be able to tell the difference anymore. Okay, we're that good now, which is great. Okay, let's dive in. So this is going to be the hard part, where I'm going to basically delete all the hard work that I did and start again with the left menu layout. Okay, so let's see. Our page layout is going to remain column. Okay, page layout column. So a little note about 1280 as the size that I'm using as the width for the canvas. Okay, 1280. I don't know how many of you have gone through BuildCamp's book or Design Bootcamp or any material out there. He recommends 960, which is great, or increments of 320. So 320 is the smallest kind of column, 320, 320, 320, 960, and we just added 320 more. One of the reasons potentially is that previously used to use a floating group for the left menu, and this time we're going to use an actual group. So we need those extra pixels on the left as well. The floating group wouldn't hit the canvas, so we'd still have the 960 main column in the previous way, but now with the left column as a full group, we're left with menu minus the canvas as the main section. So the main section remains 960 and the left menu will have. Anyways, I think I'm digressing a bit. Let's start adding some groups. Okay, so we need a left menu. Okay, we're gonna start naming these better now. We need a left menu here. The left menu itself will be another column layout, and we're gonna expand its height so that it covers the whole kind of canvas top to bottom. So much easier with the new responsive compared to the old one, just having something top to bottom. 260 pixels, and menu group, white menu. Yeah, that should be fine. So we have a left column, and we need, what was it? Just a basic image again at the top, which was the logo. Just let's see, ASCII logo at the top. Again, this is going to be much smaller now. 20, 80 fixed height. We could potentially just make it 60 even. We'll center it and margin from the top. Okay. And now we need left menu buttons, but we're not going to use a button because we had an icon and a text element. So we're going to use a group. Okay. And we need a group here, and it's going to be a row style group because inside our group, our elements are in a row. Outside, they're in a column. Okay, so it's going to be this group. Let's call it dashboard menu, and we are not like this 260, or potentially let's just use the same, stretch it and add margins from the top right. 260 is too less, we need to make it 200 or something. Yeah, so 220 on the right, 20 on the left. Height can be fixed as well. Height of a dashboard 50 is about okay. Okay, so 50, 40 both can work. So let's make it 40, a bit thinner. Okay, we need some margin from the top, 20 pixels, and we'll have one element. We have a menu group or group menu style here. Okay, now we need an icon on the inside and a text element. Okay, so icon inside, one single click. Okay, home somewhere, where is it? Home icon, make it much smaller. So 20, 20. Now we're inside. Let's center align it and add some padding on the left. Okay, sound looks about good. Let's just change the colors a bit with a different hex. I'm going to use this. Okay, all right, so now we need a text element here. Board. Okay, we're going to use our 0 pixel trick. We're gonna push this. Why is it too big? Here it is. We're gonna on the center it, add some margin, 20, 20, close enough. Yeah. The style is probably something different. Let me see. Button something. Okay, this, let's see, menu text button. Okay, so now we have an icon, we have the text element, we have yeah, looks about good. Let's copy this. Now this is the part where it starts getting much. There are elements of it which are hard, which can seem a bit harder, but elements of it which just make it so much easier. So if I just copy paste this, now I don't want to paste it. If I paste it inside, okay, now what happened here, okay, is it just nested itself inside. I want this to be in the parent. So the key to copy pasting in the parent is to actually basically select where we are copy pasting. So if I click this, Control C, copy, and now not Control V here. Okay, click the outside parent and Control V here. Okay, again outside parent, Control V here, again outside parent, Control V here. We have a nice stack of menu items. Okay, so it can be team, just change the icons, team, profile, anything basically. I think we had what, reports, and this one should be like what, a document or email, something, some report looking thing. What do we pick? Let's pick a building. Okay, and profile section. Okay. So now we have our left menu set up here. Okay, 4 entries. Now, what do we do about the right column? Okay, so we need another group here, right column. Okay, just place this group. Why did it go here? Is my layout wrong? Shouldn't have gone here. It needed to be column fixed width, fit height, right align. Something strange just happened. 1 second. The page should be a row, potentially. Yes. Yes, the page should be a row. My bad. The page should be a row. Where is it? Here we are. Now at this point, I'm going to try and refresh the editor a bit because I think we're missing, it's glitching a little bit. Yeah, this should eat the whole left column. Yeah, stretch like that. Yeah, it needs to be the parent of the dashboard needs to be a row, not column. My bad. Because we have stuff on the left and right, it's a row. Okay. Right side column, stretch this whole section, and we're gonna call it, oops. I went full screen and back. Are you guys seeing, does everything look correct? Still see the screen share okay? Yeah, looks good. Okay. I accidentally pressed F12 and it just went full screen. Anyways, okay. Let's see, group dashboard. Now let's place a little text element here. Board. And let's see, we need some margins here somewhere. 30, 40. Tune this to text. Call it a heading as well. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so let's go back to our dashboard page a bit. We have dashboard, we have tile. No, we're not going to make tiles. I don't think we'll have section, but I'll definitely make sections so that we have the navigation. And we also missed the top header. We need to look at the header as well. Okay. Let's add the dashboard and team section first. So we're gonna copy the right column. Okay. And now we need to, this is not group dashboard. Made a mistake here. Rewind. This is the right column, not the dashboard. In the right column, I need another group, which is the specific dashboard group. Okay, this is the one which will have dashboard. It's here, and this particular group is also going to be a column, and it's also going to stretch both sides. Okay, just to reiterate, we have the top, the page as a row. Okay, we have the left menu group as a column, and we have the right column as well. And inside the right column, we have group dashboard. Okay, and I need to replicate group dashboard in the right column. So I'm going to Control C, copy, and click right column, Control V, or right click paste. Control V should have worked there. Group dashboard copy. So we have, let's call this team, and let's call this group team. Okay, so we have our right column, we have two groups inside. Okay, if I hide a group, this is where it's quite interesting that the editor itself is quite live. Okay, so if I hide it, and I need to tick the collapse when hidden checkbox. So if I tick the collapse when hidden checkbox, it kind of acts as if it actually happened. Okay, so if I showed both of these, I see both of them. Okay, and if I hide one of them, it kind of takes over. So previously, showing and hiding elements won't just kind of reflect in the editor itself, but now they actually reflect in the editor itself as well. Okay, so you have dashboard, you have team section, both have the collapse when hidden property. Okay, and if we actually show hide in the editor, it kind of sort of works to an extent, not all of it, of course, not dynamic data, but it does work. So when do we make it visible? What we use for our client work is generally page URL. So we have dashboard navigation is home, then this element is visible, or we're gonna add team, and then this element is going to be visible. And same for the workflows on the button. So dashboard, start edit workflow, go to page, and we just change the URL, and we are in tail workshop, right? Tail workshop. Yeah. Send more parameters. The nav. Get an option. Add the different groups in an option set. It helps over time. Home display. We're gonna copy this action and also apply it to teams. Start edit workflow. Team. Did we call it team here? Teams. Okay, let's just call it group. Okay, so now we have, let's see, we have right column, we have group dashboard. It's invisible by default and collapse when hidden. This one's invisible by default, collapse when hidden. Based on a URL parameter, they are visible. And on our two workflow, on our two buttons, we have workflow. The thing missing would be that on page load. Let's just call it, just go to page and set something as well. Workshop, send parameters, nav, get an option. Nope, not this one. Get an option, dashboard, home, display, and do this only if nav is empty. Okay. So if there's no parameter, it just opens a new one. So let's see. I'd like to keep this page lying around as well, but we're going to switch to tail underscore workshop. It's our old one. So this is our new one. If I click, where is our group? So the URL is changing. URLs are changing, so the workflows are fine, but our groups are invisible. Let me just double check what happened. This element is visible. This element is visible. Group right column, visible on page load. What happened here? Dashboard team. That's a bit bizarre. Standard layout structure that we use all the time. So I'll change this to, are we seeing the background? Yeah, we are seeing the background. We're not seeing the groups being visible. Get you. Oh. Mistake. Typo. Get URL. Snap. Okay. So back to our styles. Group, not tips, and default group, not tips. And we should be good to go. So yeah, dashboard team. I think we've tweaked the margins a bit, or this is a centered element. But generally we have two page URLs and two sections, single page application happening here. Now, it's previously adding a section would have been much harder in a single page application. But now adding a section means I Control-C copy a section, and I just right click, paste a section, and we have a new section. That's it. We basically have the new section. We can call it reports. Okay. We change this text to reports, and we're gonna, what's it called? Let me see. Reports, and we change the conditional here to reports. And that should, okay, yeah, we need to add a workflow here. So start edit workflow, right click, paste, reports, and that's it. We just added a section. Okay, this should work now. Let's see. In a previous single page app, we would kind of have like these large hidden collapsing groups in case we needed to increase the size of a page. We'd like just move that collapsing group a bit, invisible group. And there are various tricks to kind of like leave more space. But now we don't really need to leave more space. We just kind of, because everything's an element and it's nested, we just add an element and it just set underneath in the column. Okay. So before I proceed, I think there may be structural questions that I'd like to kind of look in the chat for a bit. Okay. So, or the questions, I'll look at the questions first. Main page is row or column? The main page is row. I initially made a mistake. The main page, I set it as column. That was wrong. The main page is a row. Okay. And can you just open each section one more time to show column or row? Yeah, sure. Let's see. So we look at the page itself. Okay, and its layout. The page is a row. Okay, the page is a row, 1280 pixels. The left menu is a column. Okay, everything inside is a column, this vertical stack. And we also have this stretch property. So it goes top to bottom stretch. Okay, if we didn't, we'd have this kind of interesting behavior at the bottom, but we have the stretch property on it. Okay, the width is 260 pixels. The right column is also a column. Okay, let me just collapse one of them. Yeah, okay, so this is a column. We have the vertical stretch here as well. So we have the right column fully stretched. We have the left column fully stretched. Okay, and within the right column, we have different groups inside, and each group follows a similar pattern as well. It's also a column, and it also is stretching. And yeah, that should be good. Okay. So tip, one way to learn the new responsive engine is to build using the old engine and then convert and check out what Bubble did to the page. That could be a way, could try. What properties would you set if you wanted a top floating group as the menu? Okay, instead of a left sidebar, a top menu. The page would probably be a column. Okay, then we'd have the top group, and then we'd have the top group would be the menu. So the page would be a column, okay, because we want to vertically stack the header. So the group header will be fully stretched, one group, and then underneath will be group section like dashboard or anything. Yeah, I'd probably use the page column page style for a top menu. I wouldn't use a floating group yet. Not floating group. Floating groups different. Okay, so one question is we didn't make our page, we didn't make our header. Okay, and that was on purpose. Okay, we haven't made our kind of like header, or we haven't collapsed the left section yet. Okay, but I wanted to take a break and see what everybody else has questions about and stuff. Okay, so let's try and add a header. Now, again, previously in the previous responsive, if you forgot something at the top, you'd have a nightmare moving everything around. But now I know I need a header at the top here. Okay, so I'm gonna place a group. First, I'm gonna hide all of these ones so that I have just the right column, because I need to place a group on the right column. Place a header here, group header. Okay, now this is at the bottom now. Okay, group header itself. So I need to make it first, and that's basically, now we have our group header as the first one. Okay, this is gonna be row is fine. We're gonna have a white top menu. We're gonna not make it fixed width. We're gonna stretch it so it stretches the whole side. We're gonna make it 70 pixels high. Okay, so we didn't need to move everything around to add a top bar at the top, 70 pixels high. Okay, so now we need a little icon, which is our 3 lines, bars. this icon, and let's make it 30 by 30 is good. Let's center it, and left menu center it, and change its color a little bit. Copy pasting, change its color a little bit. So we have our top header section, and we need to do what we need to do. So now the big difference in the new engine, which is really great, is that width also collapses. Okay. Previously, if you added a conditional, like we added this conditional, like get nav from this element is visible, we had the knob to height collapse a group, but we did not have the knob to width collapse. The width collapse was hidden in the responsive, and that had like add a hiding rule, and it was something tricky to use. Now, if we have some invisible element, it will hide, it will collapse the width as well. So let's just a quick example. If we hide it, in fact, no, not visible. If we collapse when hidden, okay. So if I hide it, even the editor should reflect it. See? So even if I show and hide this, the editor canvas also changes. Very new behavior, okay? But collapse when hidden. If I don't take the collapse when hidden option, it leaves that section. That's the old behavior. I need this space lying around for whatever reason. But yeah, the collapse when hidden also works on the width part as well. Okay, so we need this now. We need collapse when hidden. We're going to add a conditional, current page width less than 992. Don't quote me on these values yet. The reason I'm using them is that it says 992 here. I suspect this is going to get become a key number over time. So if I collapse this when it's less than 992, and I don't want the header to be visible all the time. Okay, I want it to collapse as well. I want it to be visible on the opposite condition. Okay, so we made it invisible on less than 992. We're going to make the header visible on less than 992. Okay, so now let's quickly see the behavior. On the left menu, we want to collapse it less than 992 pixels and show the header on less than 992. I believe I've gotten them the right way around. Yep. Nice and easy behavior. Okay, now we need to add a workflow on this hamburger. Just make it toggle the group, toggle left menu. So toggle left menu, and we can change, let's see. I just took a quick look at the chat, and somebody's eyes are hurting because of this. So I'm gonna make their eyes not hurt by left aligning these. Okay, no worries. So team left menu. Okay, so we have dashboard, team, reports. Okay, if I shrink it, I have a top header, and we have, yay. Okay, now we need to change add a conditional on this one. If what was it, left menu something? No, if it's visible, yeah, this one, if left menu is visible, change the icon itself to a cross. Where's the cross? This one. Okay, so just gonna so if I have cross, nice and simple structure. Okay, so on the, if we're full width, it's like this. If we shrink it, yeah, nice and simple. Okay, one thing to realize, if I shrink it all the way down, okay, to let's go 425, this can happen. Okay, and it hit me a few times, so I thought I'd spend some time talking about this. Let's see. Now what's happening is, remember back about the left kind of collapsing part, that the width collapses. So now that we've shown the left menu, we basically we have 425 pixels for the whole right column and the left column. Okay, so this one's fixed at 260. So we've got like just barely some pixels left for the right column. Okay, and the way to and the right column by default has like these minimum width of 400 pixels, and that's what pinches. So as a habit now, I'm not sure, I may change over time, but just make these zero pixel minimum width, different group sections. So that will make this problem, because this essentially is just not, it's minimum 400. So we have 260 on the left and we need 400 more on the right for this to kind of work. That's how it's going at the top right. Okay, and we don't have 400 pixels left. That's why it's just going at the bottom. Now we tweak the minimum pixel width to 0. So now they shouldn't it should kind of squeeze. Okay, something still minimum width. Yeah, that's the right column as a whole has header, dashboard, team, reports. Yeah, so right column as a whole can go all the way down. Okay, so let's try this again. Yeah, it's getting low. Okay, so this is an area I'm honest, like this, it's been a few days since we've gotten our hands on this, and it's just still early. This is a structure I'm comfortable with at the moment. If I change, I'll try and make another video and post online of how this would change. Okay, so let me just see, before going into repeating groups, I'll take how much, we don't have much time. Time flies. 40 minutes. Repeating groups is a whole world. It can deserve its own 2-hour session. But anyways, I'm going to pause a bit, take a look at the questions and the chat, and then switch to repeating groups. Okay, so let's see. Floating group as the top. I wouldn't use floating groups yet, but then again, I haven't actually used floating in the new responsive. I don't think we need them anymore that much. We used to use floating groups to come up with this type of layout structures. What properties, how do you tell and decide what the layout of a page, group/page should be? So this is an interesting one. I'd say design, if you have a rough layout of the design in Figma or somewhere else first, you can always change it. So I wouldn't be too wedded about this. We can change the kind of, oh, we made a mistake. This isn't a column, this is a row. Oops, this is a row. So I wouldn't worry too much about the layout. Once you go through the motions, you'll get the hang of it. The team reports and team are aligned. Left menu floating when width is less than 992 and the menu is open. Make the left menu floating when width is less than. Yeah. So then we will probably need not the same group. We'll need a separate floating menu. So that will be duplicated work. You could potentially just add a floating group here on the left and show that floating group. That would probably resolve these kind of workarounds that I applied. So if you had a floating group and you showed that all the time, the challenge is that it's just basically double work. You have 2 menus to maintain. It is a menu and it's not that many elements. So you could have double work and just add a floating group here as well. I don't know if you could potentially have a floating group always at the top. Haven't tried it. Potentially this could be a floating group, but I think group works as well. We'll see. Header is a reusable across multiple pages. So my previous experience with reusables is that they're great for stuff inside, but we still need properties outside. So you'll have the inner stuff in a group, and probably, I haven't checked, probably you'll need to place the external group outside and tune these things outside on each page. Okay. Old responsive, better to start with 1920 and shrink it down. Well, I don't know where this is coming from. I wouldn't shrink it down, but okay. So the size of the canvas with Flexbox, my current favorite size in the week that I've had my hands on here is 1280. So if I had to defer to an expert, I'd probably defer to what BuildCamp and Greg are saying and using as the canvas size, whether it's 960 or 1280. It's going to be a multiple of 320. They'd be the ones. You need a floating group if you want a non-scrolling menu on longer pages. Change group background of menu item when on that section. Okay, I'll ignore this for now. On to the questions. How to use a fixed okay, mobile version. Seminar be available on YouTube? Yes, it will be available on YouTube afterwards. Please cover horizontal scrolling when you do. Can you go show workflow, go to page options? Okay, go to page. That's this one. When do we decide the main page should be a row or a column? So it depends on your style, isn't it? On the page style. If the page is a sidebar like the left menu, right column style, row would be the way to go. If it's the top menu and bottom section, column would be the way to go. But the page settings aren't really, I mean, page settings can be, like, for example, the right, in our case, the page is a row, okay? The page is a row, left column is a column, right column is a column, but then everything inside is a column. So it's important to think, what are we, like, at what level are we thinking about the properties? Are we thinking about the containers level properties, or are we thinking about the item properties? Okay, and a page is a container. Just think of a page as a group. Okay, so Zero Code has a good plugin for slide menu. Yep. In the old responsive engine, quickly run through different container layouts for group A and sub elements. Group A, was this from the previous margin? Yeah, okay. So, all right, so we have about 35 minutes left in the session. I wanted to spend some time at the end for more questions, but I believe everybody's excited and wants to know more about the repeating groups. So let's, we've been doing questions in the middle as well. So I'm going to spend more time on repeating groups and maybe just a bit of time. Let's see. Okay, so let's go repeating groups. Okay, so we run the team section. We have one repeating group. Now I'll just add some data here. Test data. Okay, so with fixed number of rows, fixed number of columns, this is like the old repeating group. Okay, we have 30 pixels margin, 20 from the top. This is like our old repeating group. So if I add one row, one column, and I have a fixed layout, in fact, the layout itself, let's just make it column. Okay, and search for users, rows, column, we have one, and let's put an image inside here. Okay, so it's gonna be current cell users profile photo. Okay, and let's make this a bit smaller as well. 80, 80, and let's center it a bit and some margins. Okay, so this is like our old repeating group, 1 cross 1. Okay, if we take a look at it, it's gonna look like this. It's taking a while, isn't it? So we have 1 cross 1. it's a user in the database and their profile photo. Okay, if we make it 4 rows like we used to have, kind of like fixed cells, that's fine, the standard repeating group behavior that we are familiar with generally. But keep in mind, the cell itself has its own, it's like another group. Okay, so each cell's container layout can be a row or a column or a align to parent. We haven't discussed align to parent, but just quickly, align to parent is an interesting one that it kind of lets you move. Let me just remove this margin here, but it has all these, it's a different type. It's not a row column, but it kind of just has these, I think the word was nonant, 9 places where you can place an element and align it. Haven't found the need yet. I'm sure I'll come across some UI scenarios when we need it. But yeah, a cell itself can be a row, can be a column, and a cell itself is like a group and has its own properties. Okay, so we have our 4 kind of column repeating group layout here. So what I'm gonna do is, now the real power of repeating groups is when you untick this. Okay, untick fixed number of rows, untick fixed number of columns. Now we have scroll direction unlocked as a feature as well. And now we're setting the minimum height of a row and the minimum width of a row, minimum width of a column. Okay, and this is somewhat linked with the size of the repeating group as well. Okay, so the repeating group can be full width. So take a look at this. All of a sudden we have like this massive grid because we said, okay, this can stretch left to right, and this can fit top to bottom, and we have like everything in one place, as much data as we can. I don't think the database has this many kind of users and pictures in there, but we're seeing all of this now. Okay, and it kind of shrinks quite nicely. Okay, because it's we've specified the minimum height of a row, we specified the minimum width of a column. Okay, and the layout itself, we specified the minimum width of the whole repeating group, we've specified the minimum height of the repeating group, but we've got let it loose overall. Okay, this is there's basically, if we thought that groups and elements had properties, okay, they're like, okay, a group can be row, column, and alignment properties, and individual elements can have some properties. Repeating groups play around with a lot more knobs, but more power, more responsibility. And another overlay of this is not just pixels, it's also percentages. Okay, we had a question a while ago about where do I use percentages. Okay, so if I have 100% and 100%, so each cell is basically 100%. Okay, or if I take 50 and 50, each cell is 50%, which kind of makes it a 4-column kind of structure. Okay, let's open this and take a look. So mixing, matching percentages and pixels, and you get all sorts of interesting behavior. So this is like, it will remain 50%. I don't think an image justifies what this is like. Let me make a button and let me make it tails primary layout, not fixed width, stretch the whole thing, add margin, and vertical, no, stretch, where's the top? Let's make it go. Okay, so now our cell has been defined as 50%. Okay, so the individual cell will just always remain 50% of the parent, and it will try its best to remain 50%. Even though it says minimum height, minimum kind of thing, but it's kind of basically trying its best to remain 50%. See, it's always trying to the cell is trying to remain 50%. Okay, It's just kind of growing, shrinking, but the individual cell is trying to remain 50% of the whole kind of the parent. Okay, so I'm going to, let me just 1 second. I'm going to copy the card itself and focus more on the individual repeating group properties instead of designing a card. 100, 100, and let's try and see if copy paste works well. Where did it go? Group user. Where is it? Repeating group user, and we have group user. Image B, text parent, repeating group user. Oh, it is 1006%. Okay, so I copied this to just, let's try and focus more on the repeating group knobs rather than re-implementing the card itself. The card, let's just go over it quickly. The card isn't that much. It's a standard group, and we've covered most of this during the workshop as well. It's a standard group, column layout, fixed width, fixed 260 fixed, 350 height fixed. This doesn't like shrinking and growing card layouts. So it's just the standard fixed width, height, and fixed everything. We added some margins all around. And individual elements are like an image, 20 pixel margin at the top, fixed aspect ratio. We now have aspect ratio here as well on the image element. A text at the bottom, another text, a button with a different style. This one's an align to parent style group. I have found this use case when I have to push things at the bottom of an edge. So we didn't, not covering in the workshop, but if I wanted to put a profile person here or some kind of like profile image here, I'd add a group and then align to parent it and push that at the very bottom. This is what I'm doing here as well. So this last group is, there's one more at the top, 1 second. Group bottom card. Okay, let's just look at the element tree for a bit. So we have the group user, we have the image. This group is a column layout column. We have the image as one line item, the text as one line item, another text, another button. Then we have the group bottom card. Okay, and this is stretching to fill the whole remaining part of the group. And the layout of this bottom card is aligned to parent. And within that, we have this aligned at the bottom. So let me just move this. No, there's too much space. It's not moving. It should move. 1 second. 45 pixel fit height. Wonder why it didn't kind of push itself up a bit. It is at the bottom. Group bottom card stretch. Okay, so yeah, align to parent can be used to push things at the bottom. Okay, so we have a simple card and we have the current cell user. Now let's go back into the repeating group parts. So if we look at this as 100% horizontal scroll direction, the number of combinations possible with repeating group, I think it will be like in the millions or something, because it's with too much power essentially. Let's see. So we have a team, a card, and horizontal scroll happening. Okay. Horizontal scroll kind of happening here. So, but each cell has to be 100%. Okay, regardless if I fill it up. So see each cell, because I specified minimum height of row 100%, minimum width of column 100%. Okay, so even though there's so much space, so you could use this for TikTok style behavior. Okay, if I make this vertical scrolling and you have 100% Instagram or TikTok style kind of behavior, that, oh, this repeating group's like, okay, 100%, 100%. It has that extended scroll behavior where it's fetching the remaining elements once I try. So, but this is like an Instagram, TikTok's news feed. approach. If I now, what do I need to do? We could specify, we could fix the width of our repeating group itself. That, okay, this is gonna be 400. This is gonna be 400. Okay. And now we have a small section which scrolls horizontal or vertical. Okay. But we're still using 100%. Okay. So 100%, a very tiny section, 100%. This stuff was harder in the previous responsive with the repeating groups. Now it's like, okay, we just have a one card at a time kind of behavior. Okay. So if we now, okay, what if we want to display 100% is just, okay, that's the 1-to-1 ratio. But let's remove this, stretch this. So now we're going to stretch. I'll add a margin on the right as well and some on the bottom. Okay. So now we have this section. Okay. And what if we give this 50% of row, 50% of column? Okay. Well, let's just make it, the canvas is too small, the height of the canvas. Now, if I click on the page layout and I add, I'd like to see more of the canvas. This is how I've kind of grown the page size in this new responsive layout. It's like, okay, minimum height, let's just grow the page size. Okay, so back into the repeating group, 50%, 50%, let's make it 30% for the row height of the row and 30% width. And now I have this interesting layout, 9x9. But because we're dealing with percentages and minimum heights, it responds quite nicely. Okay, if I refresh the page here, see I have this grid and it's trying to be the minimum size. 30% of the viewport is too less, okay, for the size of the card, because the card has a fixed width in percentages. The card is not fixed in pixels. If the card was fixed in pixels, in percentages, the card would shrink, but we need to make this card aspect ratio fixed like that. So we're gonna tune this. We can't use percentages. Let's use pixels and pixels. Okay. And minimum height of the card 350, minimum width 350. What do we see? 350 is too much. Let's use 350 280. Okay, so now we have sufficient margin all around. Okay, and our layout is in pixels, not in percentages. And this should collapse nicely because we specified pixels. There we go. Okay, so lots of knobs. The full size of the repeating group has an impact. Okay, we can make it a fixed height. Okay, we can make it a fixed height, so only one card fits. Okay, now if I make it a horizontal scroll, okay, only one card fits in a height and all my elements are horizontally scrolling. Okay, there will be more of them after they fetch a bit. Yeah, so now we have, or what if we wanted two cards and horizontal scroll? So we can add, fix the height to 800, not the full height. Okay, we have a fixed height. If we give it the full height, it'll try and eat up the whole space. Like, no, we're gonna give it a fixed height, 800, and it'll try and fit as much as it can based on the minimum height of row and minimum height of pixels here. Okay, if we look at this again, it's now horizontally scrolling two row card. Okay, horizontally scrolling. We don't have that many elements. I believe there's, oh yeah, there's one or two more. Yeah, there are a few. Okay, not vertically scrolling. The vertical scroll is different. So vertical, if I add some kind of something underneath here, it will kind of be placed there. Okay. Page is refreshing. but overall, like see that's the button over there. Is that we're just kind of repeating scrolling here. If I make this, what's it called? Not fixed height. Now we're in kind of basically as much data as possible, just fit it kind of scenario. So it will still be 3 at the top, but it's gonna probably eat up all data. 2, why is it stuck at 2 and not more rows? That's a good question. Maybe the minimum height is too much. I don't have an easy answer. I thought it would grow. It should have grown. It's trying to steer itself towards 800 pixels. Maybe this one's kind of pushing it. Lots of interesting behaviors that we still need to figure out basically, but the number of knobs that we have available, just to iterate, behind no code, there's still code, it's Flexbox. And the number of knobs that we now have is just way higher. We have pixels, we have percentages, we have these alignment options, we have stretch. We can do all sorts of funny little things now. If I make this vertical, it will definitely take up vertical space. Anyways, so time check. Okay, not that much time. Let's try and cover a bit about tables. Won't have enough time, and it's a bit dodgy. Not dodgy, I mean, let me just, instead of re-implementing, I'll open it and I'll try and walk through it quickly. Okay, so we have Tails dashboard. We have, if somebody's wondering about Tail, that's the UI is coming from tailwindui.com. Okay, really amazing set of blocks. So the sidebar navigation, I implemented this one. It's kind of nice and simple. Okay, anyways, that's where the tail comes from. This boilerplate is for our client work and design system. Anyways, we are group, right? We're talking about group tables, and we'd like to know about how to make a table here. Okay, so where do I start? Okay, so this time the cell layout is row. Okay, previously with the cards, repeating user card, the cell layout was column. Okay, now in this table's case, the cell layout is row. Okay, now we've the parent, this is a, let me just try and show the behavior first that I'm talking about. Okay, so see this table, this bottom one at the here. Okay, so if I shrink this page, okay, why do I get this horizontal? How do I get here? How do I get to the horizontal scroll behavior? Okay, because with tables and horizontal scroll, it gets really powerful, isn't it? Because otherwise with responsive and dense data layouts, it was really hard before, but now with such responsive tables, it can be a bit easier. So how did we get here? The repeating group itself has been defined as a percentage of the width of the container, 95%. So if I call this 50%, this will always try and be 50% of its parent. Okay, so let's just quickly take a look at this one. It'll always try and be 50% size. So this table is trying to be 50% here. Okay, even if I shrink this, it's gonna try and just be 50%. So this is 50%, this is 50%. The left column has disappeared, we are at 50%. Okay, so the table itself is 95%. Okay, each individual height of row and width of column. So the width of column is 100%. Okay, if we add the scroll direction is horizontal. If we make the width of column as 50%, or let's just not tweak this. The width of column is 100%. We'd like that one row is 100% the whole column. The minimum height of each row, 20%. Okay, now where do we get these percentages from? So the height is 250 pixels. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20% times 5. Okay, this height is kind of 100% now. And even though we've specified the parent repeating group as 95%, the inner elements, they have their specified pixel wise. Okay, so the inner elements are specified pixel wise. So we have, this is a text element, repeating group rate. This is a simple text element, but it's 100 pixels, okay, minimum. 120 pixels minimum, 120 pixels minimum, 200 pixels minimum, 200 pixels minimum, 200 pixels minimum. So the inner children elements are forcing 200, 200, 200, 120, 120, 100. So about 600-700 pixels. That's the minimum pixel width this can go. But the repeating group has to stay at 95% of its parent. So the parent is whatever the size of the parent. Okay. If the parent is 95% and it can't fit all the text elements, this horizontal scroll table behavior starts appearing. I hope that was clear. I was a bit fast on this. I think I mentioned at the beginning with repeating groups, I think we can spend a 2-hour workshop on repeating groups as it is. Okay. But this, because each text element inside is in pixels, but the parent is in percentages. So the parent is still trying to remain a kind of 95% of its kind of container. But because the pixels are forcing, oh, we need more space, we need more space. Okay, let's just, the horizontal scroll direction starts taking place. Where is this? This one, horizontal scroll. What happened if this was in vertical scroll? Let me try and, I don't remember. Does it scroll? It doesn't scroll vertically. It starts collapsing the groups, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it doesn't force them to kind of stay in one kind of long row line. Okay, so we need the horizontal. These properties, they are reflective at some level of Flexbox properties. Okay, flex wrap or flex flow align, under the hood, it is Flexbox. Okay, sometimes it's hard to tell which one's a bubble. Repeating groups and how repeating group maps, it'd be hard. Maybe Bubble themselves can kind of explain and how the mapping works. But I hope this was useful. I did rush over this, but just to recap, the parent repeating group, we have a row layout of each cell, and we have we define this width in percentages, and the inner children are kind of pushing in pixels, pushing stuff out. Okay, so now it's been 1 hour 50 minutes. I'm starting to get a bit tired now as well. Okay, so let me just see. I believe I had there is some button somewhere where I can trigger a poll. Yeah, yeah, launch poll. I hope you guys see a poll showing up on your screen, and I'd appreciate some feedback. And there is a survey at the end of the session as well, which asks some stuff. Okay, I see the poll responses coming live, and thank you very much. I'm glad that you guys liked it, liked the session. Luckily, nobody thought it was meh up until now. Let me scroll through the chat and look at any questions. Align to parent, remove the scroll bar. How do you hide scroll bars? Hiding scroll bars, you could add some CSS to hide scroll bars. The thing with scroll bars, they're a native thing. So Chrome, Safari, Windows, Mac, they have different scroll bars. And you need scroll bars as well sometimes. But yeah, there are some CSS overrides to change scroll bars. Great session. Thanks a lot. Okay, thank you. Let me see if there's something in the Q&A. Learn the new responsive engine. Fixed header, icon, crop plugin, layout settings for page, forum, the old responsive zero code, right scroll menu fixed. Okay, how did you incorporate Tailwind UI as an HTML snippet on Bubble? You can't action workflows. Okay, so I looked at Tailwind UI and I implemented it again. Basically, I wish we could copy and paste easily, but the old-fashioned way of looking and making everything again and again kind of way. So that's the way to do that. I don't see any questions about repeating groups compared to the original kind of Flexbox and groups and the sign up section and the left menu dashboard section. Potentially it could have been too fast, or the other way would be just completely blown away and I have no questions bandwidth left at the end of the session. But that's good. So let me just end this poll now. Share results. Can I share results? I can share results. I don't know what you guys see on the screen, but if you, this is the first time anyways. Okay, I'll stop sharing the results. Okay, so you can see the summary. Okay, so I'm here for 5 to 10 more minutes. If anybody wants to add more questions in the chat, or if people want to slowly start trickling away, there will be a survey. I hope everybody has been networking to an extent. Please feel free to help each other out. Follow on Twitter or on LinkedIn, connect everything. Let's just help each other out. The reason for doing this session for free was to just I've learned a lot over time from the Bubble community, and I can give back as well. And the new responsive engine, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting it, Flexbox and why it's working, how it's working. And I could also see that this one's going to be a hard one for the rest. So this is not just it's drag and drop. It's a different way of thinking. So I'm going to start uploading stuff on YouTube. I'll try and see if I have bandwidth to make little tutorials on little sections and segments, because I really feel like small sections will start helping people as well. So, is this your first demonstration conference? Bubble? Well, no, I've presented at in my previous kind of software engineering, like some random conferences, and we had this academic package which we did like before COVID real life presentations, done a few Zoom ones, done a boot camp, but this is definitely one of the largest ones. So how do we sign up for future events? I'll email everyone. So hope to see more repeat. Yeah, I do feel like we can spend 2 hours on just repeating groups. Potentially, the poll suggested a landing page, which is also very important. But there are others who are doing a landing page as well. Like I think Eli did one. But yeah, that's one way. Or repeating groups is probably need to do a lot. Do you have to rebuild apps done using the old system, or is there a quick way to make them adopt? So when you click upgrade, Bubble tries to do its best job automatically. I personally haven't used it because I'm too scared. I'm kind of like wait a bit. New layouts, yes, I'll definitely start using the new engine. Old stuff, we'll see on client work to client work if we should move or not. Okay, so please share YouTube channel. Ooh, looking to rewatch it again on YouTube. Am I about to become a YouTube influencer in a while? No, let's see how it goes. I understand the concept of the new responsive engine after this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Want the right page, make scroll menu fixed. If I want the right page, scroll, and the menu fixed, how do I do this now? You want the whole page to scroll. make this, no, that wouldn't, will that? Probably tune this parameter of the whole right column. So min width is 0 pixel, right? Just tune this to 600 or something. I suspect it will start pushing on a horizontally scrolling right section. Okay. Reusable element made with a new responsive on old. Yes, I think this combination is possible. You can combine old and new because due to reusable elements. Which way around? I don't know, but in the bubble forum there was some chatter about combining. Okay, so anything in the questions that I can easily answer? Dismiss crop plugin, I don't know. Layout for settings for the page, row and column, it depends. Layout for the group, I believe I did answer. Many people is having need help removing white space from the screen. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up now. It's been a great 2 hours. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope this helps. There will be a survey link that goes out as well. Please do reply to the survey, and I'll see. I'll try and kind of get more feedback and see if I want to just do more sessions. When, how, of what type? Because I knew all this was because of the new responses was useful, but what next? I'd like it to be more user-led and see how it goes. All right, so that's it. I'm gonna click this end button now, and that probably ends the webinar for everyone. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.